And so here, let's watch this video. I think this is important to see. Here is the Board of Michigan, the Board of Education in Michigan, and a scientist that is up in front of them saying the most egregious thing you've ever heard. Here it is.
Not so. I'm sorry, parents do not know best. Scientists know the best. Experts know the best. So I strongly support the standards and to enable and empower all students to feel safe, educated, knowing who they are, and knowing that it's okay to be who they are.
If you want to teach them who they are, teach them to be confident in themselves. Don't teach them to pretend to be something they're not. And no, scientists don't know better than parents for their children's well-being. You have no vested interest in that child. You have a selfish desire to spread the ideology that you believe in. You don't have a vested interest in those children. You don't. And as we found out from COVID, no, scientists don't know better than anyone about literally anything other than what they've been told is the truth when they go to university, right? I go back to the Kerry Mullis, right? Kerry Mullis being the scientist who developed the PCR test. You know, the same one that they used to determine whether it was whether you had COVID or not. PCR testing. Essentially, what PCR testing is, we can go into a whole thing. It takes the DNA sample and it expands it out to the widest that it can be, and it essentially tries to look for the biggest traces of certain things to identify if it's within the genetic sequencing or whatever. And so then what it does is the amount that it expands it is based on the amount of cycles that you run it through the PCR test. And then what Kerry Mullis said, again, who created this, won a Nobel Peace Prize for this, he said, if you expand it far enough out, it makes you believe in the theory of everything, which is that everything is connected. Everything can be found in anything if you run it on enough cycles, which is why when they were running PCR testings for COVID, they ran them far too high. And that was causing the false positives, and the rate of COVID infection that we saw was the fact that they were expanding it so far out that the tiniest trace of almost anything could have been found, and they would say that they found COVID. Right? As they were, the highest it was supposed to be ran was I think it was 9 or 10, and they were running it 42 cycles. So anyways, oh yeah, Kerry Mullis said, and by the way, Kerry Mullis died just a couple of months, I believe, before COVID happened, before they weaponized his technology in a way that he completely disagreed with, that he was very outspoken with. Very interesting. But back to the main point, which is the fact that Kerry Mullis said that essentially, imagine being the smartest Egyptian mathematician. Imagine, you know everything, right? The smartest Egyptian mathematician knows everything, just like our scientists sit here and pretend to know everything today. But in reality, they only know what they've been taught. They only know what the books that they've read have told them. And by the way, who funds the books? Who funds the narratives? Could it be Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, who purchased one of the biggest education books in history? Could it be the George Soros Foundation? Could it be that these books are bought and paid for by the organizations and families that want to propagandize the public for profit? Again, follow the money. Right? It doesn't just have to be about ideology or destabilization of the country, which it very well is. It's also about money, which just makes the conversation simple, right? If you're putting somebody on a hormone replacement therapy, if you put 1,000 people on it, you're making so much money. If you're doing gender surgery, it's like $120,000 surgery. Do that thousands of times a year. That's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars going to surgeons, going to hospital systems, going to all of these organizations, not even talking about the pharmaceutical companies that are involved in the ongoing care of these individuals, instead of, giving them some therapy that they probably need. Honestly, I've been fatigued. I was fatigued for quite some time because I put out so many videos about this. This was the front that we fought on for quite some time, and it was a nice reprieve from this. But to see that this is still ongoing, still happening, and still something that my children are going to have to deal with, not only with their friends and the parents of those friends in these liberal areas, but also their school systems, the people who are in a position of power over them, that they're expecting to take care of them, that we're expecting to take care of them, and they get the opportunity to brainwash our children with their sexual ideology. They get to promote these fetishes to my children. Not only that, but they also repealed some act that made it illegal to hand out condoms. I don't need you handing my child condoms. I don't need you teaching them that abortion is a form of family planning. And again, it is absolutely against religious beliefs. Life happens in the womb. That is what's there. It is a child. If gone untouched, and by untouched I mean unmurdered, that baby will become a walking, talking adult one day who loves and who learns and laughs laughs and experiences hardship and perseverance and builds their own self-confidence and leads a life that nobody else on this earth will ever lead. And just how atrocious that they're going to teach that in our schools. And the fact that these eight people, all it takes is two people to have a radicalized opinion in this group, and then it's split from that half and half decision. And obviously it's going to happen in a state like Michigan, which is just atrocious.